Assalamu alaikum everywhere. Greetings wherever you are in the world, whether it's the morning, afternoon, evening, or whatsoever. It's greetings to all of you. Actually, when I was asked to present this paper here, I was a bit skeptical. Why should a penniless poor guy like me be asked to speak to investors? And I don't have any money to invest anyway. But known for my modesty, I have accepted the challenge anyway. So let us see what we do if this PowerPoint presentation works, because the slideshow is not working for me for some reason.
سامعينك يا دكتور عادل. الصورة واضحة.
But I have problem actually having a slideshow. I don't know why. Although it was
عادل. أول حاجة الباوربوينت فاتح يا عادل.
Yes, it is here.
الديسكتوب. هاي تحت في شير سكرين تحت يا عادل.
Oh yes, okay.
هاي عادل ما معقول نحن نشيله ونقول لهم ده أحسن مهندس سوداني.
No, that's just. Can you see it now?
يلا بس دوس لنا خلينا نكبر بس.
Well, this is a problem, which I was facing.
يلا دوس بلاي دوس شو تحت يا عادل تحت. شو سكرين امشي يمين ايوه لسه.
Oh yes, this one. That's better.
يلا تفضل خلاص.
Oh, thank you very much. This is interesting help. So I'm going to talk about overview of the industrial investment challenges and opportunities in Sudan. I'm not going to take any specific industrial example. I will talk about industry in general, which is the main worry for me nowadays in the Sudan. Anything will do as long as it is industry. So I'll give brief introduction, then talk about the opportunities and challenges and symptoms of lack of investment in this field and how it is affecting the Sudan, and then suggest the way forward. Put the economic case for the industry and put the case for investors' contributions to the Sudan before I conclude. I will try to rush things because I'm aware of the time constraint. So I would rather start with confirming that the performance of the Sudanese economy is pretty dismal. This is not my opinion. This is the opinion of all the economists in the world, apparently. Our GDP per capita today is just less than $500. This is the same level as in 1985. So this speaks volume. We have no national development strategy or plan, which is actually required to provide vision, direction, and guide, the economic development. We don't have it in the Sudan. And therefore, no wonder we are living in poverty. But to get out of this poverty and put the economy and the country's economic growth back on track, the Sudan needs to formulate a national development plan with investment at its heart and main focus. Therefore, create investment attractive environment. Now, to do that, what do we mean by investment attractive environment? Let us take some examples to put this, in perspective. The Sudan has got an area of about 2 million kilometers square. It is the third largest country in Africa, after Algeria and Congo. And it has vast fertile agricultural land. It's about 60% of our area, of our land, is actually fertile. But if you take a country like Algeria, if you take, the coast with the Mediterranean, the rest is almost, desert. So they can actually grow nothing there apart from dates. We have everything we need. We have abundant and remarkably varied natural resources. We have minerals, we have gold, uranium, name it, and it is there. We have about 30 different, minerals in economic sort of amounts. And also we have animal and water resources. And most importantly, we have unique human resources. We have the longest education history in Africa after Egypt. So we have a long history of education, and we have a population of 40 million. This actually, with time, we have developed a very interesting human resource in the Sudan. I know it has taken a huge hit over the last 30 years, but that is something, in my view, is recoverable. If everything else in place, then we can recover that. So this means the investment opportunities in Sudan are indeed limitless. However, the challenges are also immense. We have corruption and bad governance. We are actually among the 5 most corrupt countries in the world, according to Transparency International. We have the local, the lack of national development strategy and plan. Then that means there is no vision or guidance for development plan. We are effectively walking blindly, and that is certainly a big challenge. We have poor infrastructure, and we had a whole session about infrastructure earlier on, both physical and informational. And this needs heavy investment to bring it, back to the standard which is required for industrial development. Access to finance, this is a huge thing. There is a need for a clear policy to facilitate access to finance. So we have to act to remove these inhibitors to investment now, before we can talk about, releasing poverty or actually developing the country. These are real inhibitors for the investment in Sudan. We need to remove them, and it is a job which can be done. Apart from that, if you remove these, Sudan can become a paradise for investors. What a shame, isn't it? So what are we supposed to do? What is the way forward? We have to start with political stability and good governance with a strong anti-corruption drive. And believe me, this is essential. We need that to establish the correct path for sustainable development, draw effective national plans, and legislate for supportive policies and regulations to monitor and guide fair and strategic public and foreign investments. If you just look at our neighbor, Ethiopia, this has helped Ethiopia to increase the GDP by 10 times, tenfold in as many years. In 10 years, between 2007 and 2017, actually they have increased their GDP by 10, mainly because of establishing political stability and good governance with a strong anti-corruption drive. Once we do that, what we need is to formulate a national development strategy or plan. This will set the vision, guide the economy along the right path. Okay? It will give the economy the required stability in terms of planning and legislation in short, medium, and long term. It will set the right priorities for us. Then industrialization of the country must be at the heart of the NDP, the National Development Plan. This is important to tackle the economic and wide sustainable development issues facing the country. So why am I talking about why industrialization in particular? I see it as a major important thing in actually putting things back on track. Take this figure. This shows, for example, take cotton as example of a major agricultural product we have. If you can, I don't know if you can see the cursor here, but if you have cotton as raw material, the cost per ton is about, $1,000 US. But by the time it goes through all the manufacturing process and processing to fiber, yarn, fabric, and until it becomes, say, a shirt for us to wear, okay, this will actually increase the value 60 times. Actually, Osama for the gum stopped at an equivalent point here, which it doubles, the value of the raw material if you do dry spraying. Now, if you go to manufacture, for example, chemicals or medicines, or it may actually go even up to 60. And this is very rewarding sort of thing. This is why this is the magic of industry. Actually, if you take the cotton, again, the USA, okay, as economic contribution of cotton to the USA economy is $35 billion. And it actually supports almost 500,000 jobs. That's huge. If you know that the debt of Sudan in 2018, it was about $56 billion, then effectively we can pay back all our debt in 2 years just from cotton industrialization. That's very rewarding. Not only that, look at the example of China, for example. China adopted a policy where manufacturing being the engine of overall resurgence. What happened? Over the last 30 years, they have got economic growth of 10% year in, year out for 30 years. As a result, last year, in 2019, China has overtaken USA as the largest economy in the world. So here we are not talking about, just aspiration. We are talking about real examples in real life. So if we use their experience, we can actually do something similar. We don't want to be, the largest economy in the world, but at least let us say increase our GDP by tenfold in 10 years. So industry is a major component of economic sector. It is the prime driver for the economy and development. It helps the country to accumulate capital. It provides self-sufficiency from the produced goods. It increases foreign currency reserves. It provides direct and indirect employment opportunities. It offers a viable path for skill and technology development and transfer. And my colleagues earlier has spoken about the importance of technology transfer and so on. And it provides an incentive and stimulant for the infrastructure development. And as I said, we had a whole session about, the miserable situation of our infrastructure in Sudan and how it will help, other sort of investment. But infrastructure itself is a hot field for investment in the Sudan as well. So let us see the impact of this in Sudanese economy today. This graph shows you the contribution of industry to the Sudanese GDP. You can see that from 2000, it went up slightly in 2005 to something like 28% of the GDP. And then it started, this is the whole industry, and it started to drop to actually 2% today. But if you take from the, when I say industry is everything. When I say manufacturing, then manufacturing is what is also known as transformative industry or part of the industrial sector, but it is a specialized part. And that was about 9% in 2000, and then coming down until today, it's become almost nil. This is a joke. What is the contribution of industry and manufacturing to the employment market? 3.1% for the industry and 1.7% for manufacturing. So effectively, what I can tell you is that the impact of industry on the Sudanese economy today is non-existent. You just can't feel it. This is why I'm describing it as a joke, and it is a big one. Why? Compare this with the rest of the world or similar thing. If you are talking about the world, then you are talking about these green points. This is for manufacturing, and this is for industry. But if you are talking about the low-income countries alone, the low-income countries, then the industry in this year, which is 2017, it was 25% and 9% for manufacturing. See the equivalent numbers here? It is, come on, it is 2% for Sudan, for the industry, and nil for manufacturing. So we have a long way to go. We need investment in this area. So I have something here which I have to get rid of if I can. Yeah. So the case for investors' contribution, it should be noted that sustainable development is not cheap. Here I'm not, just offering, it is something possible, but I'm not offering peanuts. It is not cheap. Building competitive manufacturing sector requires heavy investment in infrastructure, in research and development, in technology transfer and training. And also you need very high quality so that you can compete with the rest of the world when it comes to exporting your goods. The world will not accept, second sort of quality when they can actually get the best quality from China or from South Korea or from India or from anywhere. You have to have the highest quality, and therefore you need to spend on that. And also it needs both capital and human resources. You need money to build it up, and you need the right skills and training to do it. The government cannot do it alone, and this is an important point. It has to be helped by genuine partnership with private and foreign investors. And let us not fool ourselves. I would say that, this theory where, the government can do everything has proven, its failure all over the world for a very long time now. We need genuine partnership with private and foreign investors. Why I can't move this? hand up.
مرات بياخد بس شويه لانه الضغط على شديد.
اوكي
كده دوس انتر ما بيمشي معاك.
اوكي I'll
حاول واصل وبعد شويه اعمل له كليك بيه المفروض يمشي معاك.
اوكي
مرات ما بعرف ليش والله.
Let me see if I can get the camera already, not the camera but okay. So effectively, the message of this slide is that we need contribution from private and foreign investors, but that requires there are requirements for that. You cannot attract investors if you do not have the right climate to attract them, and that right climate means, first of all, as I started, the starting point is they want to see corruption being eradicated. They want to see good governance. They want to see, and this is very important, how easy access to finance they have. That means you should have policies in place to control these things. And more importantly, they want to see these policies in place and working before they flock to the country. So don't think that they will just take Hamdok for word for it or our good intention and say, well, these are the Sudanese people, we know they are good, so we will go there. They want to see the evidence. They are investors, they are not donors. They are there for their benefit as well as increase value to the country. But their benefit comes first. And if you don't show them that you are genuine about reform, you are genuine about that, and you have the right legal framework, which guarantee them that they have their access to finance. They can actually take their money wherever they want by the end of it. They have fair taxation policy which incentivize them, and so on. And to do this, I think early on, also we had a good example about the promotion of the PPP, which is the public-private partnership, which actually I have presented a paper in 2018 in Geneva with a model for investment, which is actually public-private partnership between the diaspora, the country of origin, and the host country or the foreign investors. So these are three sort of things, and I have explained in that paper how such a partnership can work. So if you can do that, I think that would be a good example for how things. No, it's still like, it's not going anywhere, but anyway, I think, okay, it did work somehow. So the creating investment attractive environment, you need the political stability, as I said, you need clear policies to ease access to finance with reasonable cost to investors, as well as incentives through taxation policy. It is also important for investors to see these policies in place and working in practice before expecting them to flock to the country. And this is the model I was talking about for the PPP. And you can say that forming and legalizing such a three-way PPP can encourage and incentivize diaspora as well as foreign countries and sources of investment to come to the country and ask for fair treatment, a win-win situation for all. You can go back to the paper, Dafa'Alla and Hussein 2018, if you want more information about that, or you can contact me directly, but the paper is also available in WAST under publication, conferences, publications, Outlook 2018. So to conclude, we have established that the performance of Sudanese economy is currently pretty dismal. The December revolution could be the fresh start to eradicate corruption, build sustainable, stable political system, and create an investment attractive environment. Sudan has the right ingredients for successful investment opportunities. However, the challenges are immense. So industry is the prime driver for economic growth and has to be at the heart of the National Development Plan. Industrial investment is not cheap. Governments cannot do it alone. Contribution of private, local, and foreign investors is required, and PPP provides an attractive model for industrial investment in the Sudan. So in short, what I want to say is that for investors, the potential is huge. However, do your homework first. Although we are known to be a generous nation, there is nothing called free lunch when it comes to investment in Sudan. You have to do your homework, and that can be sometimes painful, but it's worth the price if you do your homework and if you are doing it right. Thank you for listening.
شكرا جزيلا دكتور عادل. الفرصة متاحة للأسئلة. في واحد عنده سؤال تفضل. طيب يا دكتور عادل، كيف الحاجات دي تنزل إلى أرض الواقع وتطبق؟
Well, this is a good question, yes, because there are things which are in our hands. There are things which, you know, in the head of the politicians. I mean, for example, taking chance of good governance, but, you know, fighting corruptions and so on. These things, you know, by the way, if the reforms I'm talking about here, the things has to be taken as a package. You cannot say, okay, let that go alone. That's the work of politicians. And then we do the investment. You cannot do that, because if that could work, it could have worked for, you know, over the last 30 years for al-Bashir regime. They have tried, you know, to have the worst political system, bad governance, corruption, and they wanted, you know, to have investment. They don't go hand by hand. So, and this is why I say that is the starting point, that you actually create the environment. By the way, these things don't cost money. I mean, to create the right attractive environment for investment, you need political stability, you need eradicate corruption, and you need legislating, having a industrial policy. IP, which is a policy which guides the things. And above that, you need a strategy. So you need the strategy, you need the policy. All these things actually need decisions rather than and consulting the experts and make use of the power, the expertise you have in the Sudan from Sudanese inside Sudan and outside Sudan. And then when you put that right, then investing in industry, there are very cheap things which you can start with. And there are things which you have very long history with. For example, textile engineering, which textile manufacturing, which I use as example here. In the 1970s, I don't know how many remember that the Sudan textile factory in Khartoum North, used to actually go from producing clothes to actually, we used to buy our shirts and so on and trousers and so on from the manufactured goods in Sudan textile industry. So we have very good history of these things in the Sudan. The problem is, during the last 30 years, everything has gone down. It's been destroyed completely. So rebuilding it would be an easier job than starting things from scratch. All what you need is the right partnership to put it in place with local or foreign investors, to try to rehabilitate these factories again. And that shouldn't be impossible, but it should be the starting point. It's not going to solve the problem overnight, but it's going to be the right starting point.
هي فرصة للأسئلة. طيب يا دكتور عادل، يعني بما إنك
Sulafa is raising her hand, I think, but
وين أنا ما شايف.
It says Sulafa raised hand.
أوكي، تفضلي يا سلافة.
تفضلي. في السودان يا عادل الشبكة تعبانة.
Oh yes, but there is lag as well, Okay, go on, doctor. Sorry.
Okay. بما يعني سؤالي.
Can I ask a question?
تفضل.
So I'm participating from Sudan, and also my internet is going quite low, so that's why I disabled the clip, the teleconference by video. And it's an excellent presentation, and I really learned a lot from it. But the question that I think the presenter was so much inclined to also push toward, which I really liked what he was doing, was he was trying to also point out that this sort of environment existed before in Sudan. And now we're trying to bring it back again. So I would like to ask the question, and I even pointed out the question on the forum. I said, what role just right now, I just pasted it. What role can civil society, association, and think tank play in supporting stronger industrial environment in Sudan? Is it just the government side or civil? Do you believe that at that time, when you were young and you went and you bought the t-shirts from the factories, do you think civil society played a stronger role in creating that environment? And what role exactly, precisely did they play? Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is an interesting question and very important one. Yes, I think the government by itself cannot do it. The civil, society has got a huge role to play in this, particularly at the time, I'm talking about, and by the way, I'm not that young anyway. So at that time, when you have a civil servant, for example, working in the government, if you try to approach him to do anything wrong, that was insult. Today, he will just laugh and ask you for how much you are going to pay. So there is a cultural change which happens through the last 30 years. It's something which we never actually used to have in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and early 80s. So that cultural change brought with it a lot of, challenges. Now, if you go back to the 70s, most of, the civil society will not allow the government to go astray. They will bring it down. while I was a kid, I have seen 3 different sorts of revolutions in the Sudan. That is one thing. The other thing, you know, they will actually, through their unions, they will contribute. I mean, I came from Atbara, you know, the railway, you know, workers union. They used to have studies, which is actually sponsored by them and given to experts, you know, to solve the problems which they face. And then they go to the government and negotiate. These are the solutions. Why don't you implement them? So a strong civil society has definitely a very strong part or role to play in a democratic country. This is why I'm calling for the democratization of the country. I hope this answers this question. But it is a very interesting point.
Thank you very much. Well answered.
اوكي. في الختام نشكر دكتور عادل على هذه الورقة المفيدة.
يا دكتور علي، اسف
نعم.
اسف لازعاجك.
أيوة.
كان في شايف دكتور سلافة قال لك عادل؟
اي ما قلت لها تفضلي، لكن ما شايفه دخلت ثاني.
ايوه، وين يا سلافة؟
Sorry, I have a connection problem. I'm in and out.
تفضلي، ما في مشكلة، تفضلي.
طيب، شكرا لك دكتور عادل يعني على البرزنتيشن الجميل. صراحة أنا مهندسة معمارية مهتمة بالصناعات الصغيرة في السودان. قبل فترة نحن كنا شاركنا كتجمع بتاع المنتجين الشباب، يعني كونا عدد من الجروبات في الفيسبوك. نحن كان عندنا جروبات بندعم فيها الشباب الصغار المنتجين يعني. والحمد لله إنه الحاجة دي لقت صدى من وزارة الصناعة، وهم دعموا المعرض على أساس إنه يكون جزء من المعرض اللي كان في الشهر الماضي اللي هو معرض صنع في السودان. فكان ده أول معرض للتجمع المنتجين الصغار. أنا حقيقة يعني سعيدة جدا بالبرزنتيشن بتاعك، وبأنك أنت قلت إنه الجفرمنت cannot do it alone. فنحن في تجمع المنتجين الصغار يعني حابين إننا نكون جزء من المنظومة دي، بإننا بنجمع داتا عن الصغار المصنعين. هنحاول نملك كل الداتا دي لوزارة الصناعة، ونشوف معاهم. هم قدموا لنا دعوة كريمة لأنه نحن نقعد معاهم ونشوف شنو الحاجات اللي يعني الصغار المصنعين محتاجينها، واللي هم ممكن يقدموها برضو لنا في الوزارة من ناحية بتاع التشريعات أو قوانين أو تدريب. فأنا صراحة دكتور عادل يعني حابة إنه إذا أمكن يكون عندي كونتاكت معك، إنه يعني أستشيرك برضو. نحن ما مختصين في المجال الصناعي، لكن ممكن يكون يعني فرصة جميلة إنه أعرف أكثر عن الموديل بتاعك اللي أنت عملته، أو إذا أمكن إنك أنت تشير الدراسة دي.
شكرا جزيلا سلافة. وافتكر يعني دي حاجه بارعه جدا ان يكون في شباب مهتمين بالمساله دي ووصلوا مرحله، وانا ام glad انه وزاره الصناعه استجابت لكم ولو لحد ما. بس افتكر انكم يو نيد تو بوش اكثر واكثر، لانه التعامل مع وزاره الصناعه ما سهل خالص. انا مستعد في اي لحظه لاي تعاون معكم في اي شيء في حدود معرفتي واختصاصي. بالنسبه للبيبر، اذا كان دخلتي في الويب سايت بتاع واست الورلد اسوسيشن اوف سستينبل ديفلوبمنت، في هناك بتاع بابليكيشن، في باتون بتاعت بابليكيشنز فيها البوكس، وبتلقي اوتلوك 2018. ده فيه هنا يو كان داونلود ات اند ات از فري. بالنسبه لاي هنا عايز تتصل معي ثاني، الايميل بتاعي موجود في البيبر نفسها، برضه مع علام موجود. اذا اتصلتي بعلام ممكن علام اديها الايميل بتاعي، وانا مستعد عشان يعني اتعاون معاكم مع الجروب بتاعي ولمصلحه مصلحتكم انتم في الاول ومصلحه السودان ثاني.
أكيد كلنا نحن عاملين للمصلحة العامة في منتدى الصناعات الصغيرة والمتوسطة في تجمع المنتجين الشباب، ويهمنا مصلحة البلد يعني. وشكرا لك كثير يا دكتور.
حبابك 10 وشكرا على المداخلة بتاعتك.
كويس. حقه بعد نختم. شكرا جزيلا دكتور عادل على العرض الرائع والأفكار الجميلة والسرد التاريخي الواقعي السوداني، وبارك الله فيك وشكرا جزيلا.
بنحلم بفضاء أوسع، بنحلم بزمن أجمل، بلاد ميلاد، بلاد ميلاد. بنحلم بفضاء أوسع، بنحلم بزمن أجمل، بلاد ميلاد، بلاد ممتد لحد حدود الحد، وطن لا في